Hi, my name is Danielle Augustine, and today we are talking to Dan Slott about his book, The Awareness Journey.
Hi.
Let's start off by having you tell us what the book is about.
Well, it starts out with a young man who he just walks down to the harbor and kind of aimlessly, and he ends up taking a trip on a sailboat. And instead of the ports that they go to, instead of being physical ports that you and I would recognize, each port is a different level of consciousness. So he starts out in the very low levels of consciousness of shame, guilt, anger, and fear, and it's very depressing. And it's where a good portion of our population spends a lot of their life. And he leaves that port and goes to a different port, and each port raises his level of consciousness a little bit. So he's becoming more fulfilled and more happy as his life goes on.
What made you decide to then write this book?
I was raised in a strict Christian family and had conceived impressions of what God was and who God was. I'm told God is a loving father, but then I'm also told that God is a vengeful judge who punishes you if you don't believe. And it confused me. It didn't make sense to me. I had a lot of questions. And then I met Bob Proctor, and Bob Proctor had me kind of look at things with a different perspective and ask the same questions but in a different way. And it ended up building a bigger picture. And I could see things a little bit differently. And it was interesting, and it helped. And then I read a book by David Hawkins, Dr. David Hawkins. It's called Power versus Force, and he talks about the levels of consciousness. And by doing that, things seem to explain all these questions that I couldn't find answers to. And it became a bigger picture, and the pieces fit together. In nature, animals fight and they kill each other and they move on, and there's no repercussion, there's no problem with that. Humans are different. I think for the most part, humans feel for each other. They love each other, they want to help each other. They get sad when someone else is sad. And I know there's more to life than just the physical life, the physical atmosphere and environment that we're in. But I didn't know what that was. And Dr. David Hawkins' books tended to me, explain that. I think his books appeal to enlightened people and very educated people. And the people that I associate with, I work with, and I talk to, a lot of them aren't in that community. I wanted his message to send that to people who I believe really needed that message, but probably wouldn't get that message from his books. So that's why I wrote that book. I thought it was a simpler, more easily understood explanation of some of the questions that I had.
So some of your descriptions and stories are very vivid. Are the characters that you mentioned, are they real people, and did these stories actually happen?
The characters are almost all people that I knew. They're real people, and I knew them personally. There's a few that I didn't. Dennis comes to mind. He's a real person, but I didn't know him. He was a serial killer that he was in the news, and I thought it fit the story.
Mm-hmm.
The stories, for the most part, those are real too. I changed some details on some of them to, I guess, kind of hide the people involved and to some of them make them a little bit more interesting, but yeah, most stories really happen too.
So when you come into the ports, you describe each entrance with details, including the weather and the surroundings. Is that indicative or a prelude to the coming emotional experience?
I tried to make it that way. When he comes into the depressing port, the first port, the surroundings are depressing, and the weather was bad. It was dreary. He was cold. The stairway into the town went down, so that you're walking down into a lower level. Later on, coming into one of the ports, the second port, I believe, it's more exciting and more. The waves are big. They hit the rocks, and the sunrise is bright and colorful. And I try to portray the level that the person is going into.
So who do you think would benefit from reading this book?
I think a lot of people would benefit. I think a lot of people are looking for fulfillment and purpose in their life. And I think a lot of people don't feel like they're in control of that. And they feel like they're a ship without a rudder, and they go with the wind, and they don't know a direction and how to improve and how to take control. And I think that type of a person would benefit from reading this book. I think it gives clarity and shows them how to find purpose and happiness in their life.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.